Warm welcome everyone who are with us today. I'm inviting you to a journey I went through when we were working with living animals in classrooms. How I got there. When I was young, we organized nature camps in a forest in Hungary. We went out with children for 10 days without any extra infrastructure, and we just were there. We see everything around us, and we let the children to see through our eyes as well. We lived with the nature and felt everything, the smells and the sounds and everything around us, and we were touched by the beauty and the amazingness of nature. And of course, we were learning a lot about plants, animals, ecosystems, and because of that experience, 35 years ago, these camps are still going on, and I'm still working on environmental education and education for sustainability field because I felt it's such an amazing bond with nature. Later in my life, I joined the IUCN Commission on Education and Communication because what we did in a small scale and later national scale, it was amazing to see that so many people around the world are doing similar things. Of course, IUCN, as the more than 70 years old nature conservation organization, its aim is conserving nature. But from the beginning, these people who established realized that education is a driving force of getting people to understand and conserving nature. So at the beginning, the aim was learning more about nature, to let people to learn more. Later on, we used another term. We have to help people to value nature, to understand the value what we have. And why we don't value? It's all around. But we realize that people doesn't value. We take it as it's always there, and we think it's an unlimited resource, and we are using it up. So how we can value it more? How can we understand that this is our source of life and it provides everything what we need? And in the Commission on Education and Communication, we were thinking why we don't value it enough. And we were looking for a kind of a tipping point, what helps us to value it more. And we realized that we should love what we value. So let's work about the love of nature. And there were several animation film and so many initiatives more than 12 years ago encouraging love of nature or catalyzing love of nature. And recently we realized that you can't love what you are not connected with. So, and the new trend we initiated, it's a connecting with nature. There are several researches, we did it, that connection with nature, it leads to a kind of a conservation behavior. And this is how the Nature for All movement has been established. Nature for All was established, initiated by the Commission on Education and Communication and the World Commission of the Protected Areas, because we realized that if the children are connected with nature, if adults are connected with nature, if we are connected, it can catalyze love, the positive connections. The movement was launched in 2016, and it's still going on. Hundreds of organizations are joining, thousands and thousands are people are sharing their love stories. I'm going to explain a little bit more later. And now I'm working on the nature education for sustainability because we believe that we can reach the sustainable development goals if we are connected with nature and if we learn from and if we learn with nature. Let's see some examples. Several years ago, I was invited to an amazing organization. It's called Bavarian Academy of Nature Conservation and Landscape Management. They realized that the people around them doesn't put enough effort of conservation, and they said, okay, let's start with education because education helps us because education helps people to understand what's going around them, and probably it helps to be a more conservationist, more on the conservationist side. So they prepared a handbook. It's called Tear Alive. Then I was so impressed. That time the handbook contained 12 groups of animals, and it has about 64 activities, and it's, as in Germany, it's really well structured and easy to understand. It has calendar when these activities are good to make, how it fits to the national curriculum, what kind of school type it's suggested to do, and what is the difficulty level. So this is a complete structure, and I said, okay, it's amazing how we can scale it up, how we can show it in the Commission, in Europe, in other organizations. So we started to think together with the colleagues at the Bavarian Academy of Nature Conservation, why is it good and what we can do together in the future. Why is it good? Because it really has a connection to the curricula. There are subject information, the animals, the detailed information. There are very detailed description of animals. And it has a lot of resources, references on internet, books, or organizations, experts whom you can connect if you want to have it in the classroom. Education strategist, or as a leader of the European Network of Commission on Education and Communication of IUCN, I was really impressed the partnership behind this toolkit, how it was developed, because it was a teacher organization and a conservation organization came together, and they started to work with teachers and natural scientists to put together the content. It was supported by the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Environment supported the book, the education supported the teacher trainings. Then they organized teacher trainings to study these books. And even in the classroom, the teachers were encouraged to reach out organizations like zoos or birdwatch societies or other organizations to realize the activities. Not everybody has to know everything, but of course the pedagogy is on the education side, and the knowledge about nature, animals, conservation is on the conservationist side. Let's do it together on different levels. And I was really impressed of this structure, so we started to think what we can do together. So we have organized a workshop together, invited the European network of the IUC and CEC, and the workshop was organized together with the Bavarian Academy of Nature Conservation. And the result of the workshop was, let's work together, because the handbook is such an amazing and strong and stalling material, and there is a network who are happy to continue, improve, and adapt it. So we started a project. It's called Elena. After the workshop, the partners and the Bavarian Academy of Nature Conservation, we decided to develop a project together on learning with living animals and to have some adaptation in country by country, even the partnership structure and also the book, the handbook, the format of the handbook that it was developed for the Tear Alive. This is the ELENA project. It's called Experiential Learning and Nature Awareness. What is it about? The basic is from the Tear Alive, but we added a little bit more at the end. It's about, of course, learning with living animals. Why with living animals? Because we realized, but it was also known, that living animals can catch the children's and even the adults' attention and move their attention away from their gadgets and telephones and laptops and everything. Have you ever seen an owl flying through in a room, or a chicken walking through in a conference, or just a hedgehog in a hand passing by? We tried it, and instead of having a high-level opening speech, we brought animals into the Congress when we started the project, and it was great to see how these adults was running up, taking the phones, taking the pictures of the hedgehog. Have you ever seen to do it with a ministry? I don't think so. So you can have a living animals in a room that creates invites attentions, and it's really attractive. So this is why learning with living animals. But if they have a positive bond, if they have love, then we can connect it to their awareness, to teach us something about the animals, and especially about their habitats they live in outside, if they are not in the classroom. What is the situation? What are the challenges for this animal to survive? What we should do it? So take it out from the classroom, their attention, and we teach knowledge. Having the living animal in a classroom, it creates responsibility. You have to take care. You have to learn it. You have to know if they are happy or not happy. But the key momentum at the end, how this will lead to act differently. Not everybody has to be a nature conservationist. Not everybody has to work in a national park. But understanding that our daily consuming habits, our daily way of life, water usage, and everything is connected to the habitat and the world around us via this animal, how we can do it. And after a long conversation, we realized that these are the games, the love games, how we can connect it. Let's see some examples. In Elena project, we were focusing on emotional attachment, definitely love of nature, the students' relationship with the real life, with the real environment, sense of responsibility, to have outdoor activities at the same time, awareness about the ecological values and ecological services, and system thinking, because the system thinking is that it puts all these things together. Look at these pictures. Should I say more about emissions? How these little kids are behaving just with a little cheek or with a hand. And it's a real bond for a life, almost. These are pictures about emotions as well. One of the modules of this Elena modules are about ants. This guy in the middle is a student in Romania. He was the guy who didn't like learning, didn't like to be in school. You know those ones who are sitting somewhere here like this, in a first row or in the last row, and just there and wait to have the end of the classes. And having an ant farm in the classroom, look at this attention, it's a little ant. It's not easy to have a personal bond, as I would say, because an ant is an ant, but it's bond. It's a bond between him and the ant. And after this, I was told by the teachers of him that he started to study. He started to study biology very deeply, and he would like to be an ant biologist, just because of this little activity in the classroom. And we learned a lot, even with ant, that if you have living animals in a classroom, you have to take care about the welfare of the children and the welfare of the animals at the same time. I have learned, I never knew it before, that if you take a little ant group out of their normal habitat and put them in a farm, it can be there only for some days, because if they are too long and we put them back, the original colony will consider them as foreigners and kill them. We can't make it. So we can have a little group for a very short time, study them, and put back before we could cause a disaster for their life. The other is, for example, an earthworm. I have to say, at the beginning, I was a little bit afraid of touching them, but we learned that they feel good if our hand is wet, how to collect them, how to put them back, how to create an ant farm. And these little kids are happy to take them. And if you put the earthworms in a transparent container, a bottle, you can see how important they are for the soil, how they are helping us to compost the leaves, materials from plants. During the activities of the earthworm and watching them and making the experience in an earthworm farm in a classroom, they can understand how important these little animals are for the soil. And even if they were an unliked animal before, they can become friends of the children, and they will understand what kind of soil is good for earthworms as well. And if is it good for earthworms, it's good for us. So it's a very interesting circulation we can learn via these activities as well. This is how you prepare it. You can prepare different colors of layer just to see how they are moving pieces of the soil from one part to the other, how they are moving down the rest of the fruits, leaves, everything we give them. And in some days you can see. And the best thing with the earthworms, that they can be put back even 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. Just have to make sure that they are happy, they got enough moisture, they got enough food and place to be in. And after these activities, we could see that it led to a kind of a conservation behavior. It's two quotes from two kids. One is said that, "I will never ever kick an anthill again." And the other one has, because we said that, okay, we would like to put back the earthworms to nature, to the garden. And they said, "No way, I'm going to make my own compost. They will work for me. I will make it in our balcony." And this is, do we need more? I think these activities really were successful if these kids could say this after some hours of doing it. The other activity was the wolf-set dogs. In Europe, especially those countries where we had this project, it was Germany, Romania, Hungary, and Georgia. The wolves are a kind of a questioned animal, because in Hungary and in Germany, recently they were not there, they are just coming back. Or for example, in Romania, sometimes they are overpopulated. And because they were they disappeared from Hungary and, for example, Bavaria, the farmers changed the way they are keeping their sheep outside. And when the wolves come, they are threatening their animals. And of course they feel it as a threat, and they don't want the wolves back. And also we have several bedtime stories where the wolf is a very ugly and dangerous animal. How can we change this perspective that the wolves are important for nature? It were their habitat. They disappeared because we were forced them to disappear, or we were hunting them. And how we can live together with, how can we do something? But of course you can't bring a wolf to the school. You can go to the zoo and see it, but what you can bring? You can bring a dog. Not all of the dogs. It really depends on the country's regulation. So when you are working with living animals, you have to take care about the children's welfare, the animals' welfare, and of course about the legislation. Is it allowed to bring something into the classroom or not? What can you bring and what you couldn't? We were lucky. In Romania, we could bring police dogs. In Hungary, we brought, and in Germany, because we had them, we brought therapy dogs. And the therapy dogs are trained to work with children as well. And we could bring them to the classroom, and the children were just fall in love with them. Everybody wanted to give them tasks or contacted them, and it was a part of the learning procedure. And at the same time, we could show that even the little dog or the large dog behaves like a wolf. When they are angry, when they are friendly, when they are fighting, when they are paying attention, the movement of their ears and tails and showing the teeth or not showing the teeth are the same sign. So we can learn a lot. And especially, for example, Romania at that time, the street dogs were a big challenge to deal with. And because of these activities, we could teach children how to behave when they met a pack of the street dogs. Because if you are running, you are acting like a deer. And the wolf is awakening in that dog, and they will hunt you like the wolf hunts a deer. Isn't that easy? I didn't know that before. So we learned it from the, for example, one of the police trainer who explained us how we should behave and how we shouldn't behave when we meet, for example, in an unattended dog. So it's important, and it helps the kids. And then, because of this bond, we could teach about the natural habitats, the wolves, what is their role. And, for example, watching the Yellowstone films, how the introducing back the wolf changed the whole habitat in a very positive way. I suggest everyone who is interested to look for that movie. It's very interesting to see how a simple species can change the whole habitats around. And other module is about bees, because the bees are also a very, very big challenge. The pollinators, the disappearing pollinators, is a very big challenge in Europe. I put the picture with the Chinese text showing you that most of the modules has been translated into Chinese, so you can find them. But what I would really suggest, to watch those modules and to think about your own challenges. What kind of species are a challenging species, disappearing, extincting, or what is a conflict animal? And you can choose your own subject and develop the activities. The bees was interesting. What we learned about it, it didn't lead to have that bond that was, for example, with the dogs or even with the ants, because of course we couldn't bring the bees into the classroom. We built a transparent slice of beehive out of the school, and the kids could go there and watch it, but there was no personal connection. There was no touch, there was no smell, just learning about. It was interesting. They prepared nests for them. They planted special natural grass that is full of flowers as well, as a kind of a bee table in the schoolyard. You know that in several parts the people are really liking to cut the grass, having everything like a football stadium or a golf stadium, not having any little extra on it. But the children learned what is a food for the bees and pollinators, and what kind of habitats. It's very natural in their surrounding. And these two iconic picture, it was we didn't think it before, but at the end it became an iconic picture of our modules, because this is two pictures. One is having a breakfast with bees, and the other one is having a breakfast without bees. You can play that game. Bring a full of baskets to the classroom and ask them to separate. What will you have when we have the pollinators, and what will you not have when we don't have the pollinators? And this picture is worse than 1,000 words, because they understand why we need the natural habitat around us and how this helps us. It's also good for us to valuing nature, the valuing the services what the bees and pollinators provides us. And this bond works not only for young ones, not only for kids, it works for adults at the same time. Look at these faces. These are not children. Okay, this caterpillar is in a young daughter's on a young daughter's thumb, but the others are not young, and it still works. It was nice to see the teachers' faces, and look at that hen with that young girl hand. It's the animals I encourage everyone to start with, but it can work with plants and many other living creatures. But this is what I try to explain, that what we learned working with them. Now I invite you to watch the recent video of the Nature for All, which is about love, and it's translated into Chinese. I hope you liked it as much as we liked preparing it. This is a global invitation to work together, inviting and engaging people to love nature, to value it, and to understand it, because our future depends if we can stay within its carrying capacity or not. And we can't do it in any other way, just with love, with care and attention. So these are the resources. One is the Tier Alive, the modules in German, you can find on the first one. On the second one is the Elena project I was talking about. We have the modules in English, German, Hungarian and Romanian, and some of them are in Georgian. But you are so lucky because your organization translated it into Chinese. So if you go to that page, you will find the Chinese version of the modules. And I have to say, we were so proud that when we learned that it's translated into Chinese, it really, it was a good feedback that we were on the right track when we started this project and these activities. And Bavarian Academy of Nature Conservation, whom I still work with, was so proud, and we introduced it on our website as well. And at the end, I would like to invite you to join us. The Nature for All movement, it's for everyone worldwide. And if you go to the website, thenatureforall.global, you will find so many things. You will find videos. The video you already seen in Chinese. It's translated on several languages. And that video is a series of other videos, so you can see more. Also, you can see resources. You can see the research we did, how connection with nature helps us to be more creative, to be more healthy, and many other benefits we can thank for. And there is we call it as a discovery zone. And on the discovery zone, we and our partners have uploaded several education materials, quiz, coloring books, cartoons, short videos, everything that helps you to be connected with nature. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were thinking how we can support the connection with nature, how we can help not being able to meet, not being able to go out together. So we started this discovery zone, and so many organizations realized its strengths, and they uploaded several materials. It's on different languages. I hope the Chinese translation is there. If not, I invite you to upload that modules as well for others to find it. Recently, we already launched a video festival, and we are inviting everyone, children and adults, teachers and learners, to share a short love story, how you fall in love with nature. You can go there, you will see the invitation, and there are some tutorials how to do these videos, there are some invitation how to upload. Visit the website, we are inviting you, and share your love story and meet there. And the other invitation is that IUCN Commission on Education and Communication is a network of about 2,000 experts all around the world, educators, communicators. We all have the same passion to make the world better and loving and valuing and caring more about nature and our natural resources. So if you are interested, join us in the Nature for All network, the IUCN CC, and also follow our education materials on the website of the Bavarian Academy of Nature Conservation and the ELENA. Thank you.